think I should start with an apology because it's been a long, long time since I published a podcast here. And it's all the more important because I was doing the Mahabharata series, I did one episode, and then I left it there. I won't go into the reasons why I couldn't publish the podcast episodes, but please accept my apology that I didn't continue with the series. So now I'm back. I'm going to do the same series. Episode 1 you can find in the previous podcasts. And now I'll move on to the next episode, continuing the Mahabharata story. It's about the two families, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. There were two kings, as I said, two brothers, Pandu, from which we get the family of Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra, whose family came to be known as the Kauravas. And as I said, for more details, what happened previously, for that you can check out the previous episode. Now, since Dhritarashtra, he was the elder brother, he was supposed to get the throne of the kingdom called Hastinapur. But because he was blind, Pandu, his younger brother, he was chosen as the rightful heir. Both of them were married, and their married lives were quite interesting. There were a lot of curses you'll find in these texts, especially Mahabharata. Some sage or some saint, they bestow a curse upon the king. So for example, in Pandu's case, what happened was, once upon a time, he killed an antelope that was making love with its partner. And eventually it turned out that antelope wasn't really an animal, but it was a sage who was trying to hide his identity, and he was trying to make love with his wife. So that sage got angry and he bestowed a curse upon Pandu. And the curse was that whenever he would try to get intimate with either of his two wives, the two wives being Kunti and Madri, he would not survive that and he would die. So there was no way he could get intimate with any of his wives. So that was what was going on Pandu's side. His elder brother Dhritarashtra, who was blind, he gets married to a woman called, or princess called, Gandhari. And it comes from the name Gandhar, the state of Gandhar, which is in the modern times you'd find probably somewhere in Afghanistan or Pakistan. So what happens was, initially this princess Gandhari, she was not aware that her would-be husband Dhritarashtra, that he was blind. And she finds it out once she gets married. So in that sense, it was a kind of a betrayal. And when she did find out the truth, what she does is she decides to remain blindfolded for life. And her brother, who was called Shakuni, that's also an interesting character in Mahabharata, he gets angry at this, and he cannot forgive his brother-in-law Dhritarashtra for hiding this truth and turning his own sister virtually blind, because she was going to stay blind her own life. So you can see a lot of fault lines, the politics, the drama emerging in the family. And after their marriage, it's a mythical legend, so we learn that Gandhari and Dhritarashtra, they gave birth to 100 sons. And the eldest of them was called Duryodhana, another important character in the story. So in these two families, parallelly, we find different challenges. After a while, what happens is the king Pandu, he decides to live in the forest with two of his wives. And at the same time, he was getting a little desperate to have a son. Because, like other kings, he also wanted a son so that his legacy can continue and his son could become the next king. But then he also knew he couldn't get intimate with any of his wives. So, what to do? Then one day, his wife Kunti, she tells him she has a magical power. And what that magical power was, that she could summon a god and bear a child with that god. So that sounds like a good idea to the king Pandu. And this is what they do next. She summons different gods and then she has different sons with them. Eventually, she has 3 sons, and also the other wife of Pandu, Madri, that is, she also uses the same technique, that is, summoning the gods, and she also gives birth to 2 of her sons. So eventually, Pandu gets 5 sons, and these 5 sons were called Yudhishthira, Bhim, Arjun, and Nakul and Sahadev. So first 3 with the first wife, and the other 2 with the other wife. So all these 5 sons, they were the sons of God and different gods. For example, Yudhishthira was the son of Yama, the god of death. Bhima was the son of the god of wind. Arjun was the son of Indra, the god of lightning. And that's how they had found 5 sons. But eventually what happens one day was Pandu, in a moment of desperation, I would say, he gets intimate with one of his wives, and then as the curse had it, he dies. And once he dies, now his brother, because his sons are really young, so his brother Dhritarashtra, the blind king, he becomes the king. But that was going to be a temporary arrangement until the time the 5 sons would grow up. And then once those sons grew up, it was expected that these 5 sons would the eldest one of them, that is Yudhishthira, he would become the king. So Dhritarashtra becomes the king, and his own sons and the sons of Pandu, they start growing up together, they get their education, they get their training. But while all this was happening, there was a feeling of some kind of jealousy, some kind of enmity between Dhritarashtra's sons, especially the eldest son Duryodhana, and towards his cousins, whom he thought that they would become the king and they would get the kingdom. So even among the children of this elite family, we find the drama unfolding. We find these interesting, fascinating human emotions building up, even when these kids are very, very young. So what happens when they grow up? What happens next in the story? This we'll find out in the next episode. Thank you.